Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome to a scene for the living world of darkness, Rage Across New York, wherein one 10-point has had another acceptably productive day, and as a result is feeling ways, and perhaps curious, perhaps nervous, but for whatever the reason, goes off in search of Haraya.
Yeah, Haraya, Aiden has been the family man today. Spent some time with the wife, the kin, helped out a few things, just was quiet today. So everyone's heading out for their big, raid type thing. Aiden just relaxed, took the day off. Unusual for him, but hey, as he's eventually sitting down, staring out to the city, no drink or cigarettes, just staring out there. Quite the dark look, as probably the shadow of the cabin makes half his face illuminated by darkness as well, staring out into the city. Planning.
And, oh boy. Yeah, her timing is not on point today, but all the same, Time Point will slip up and adopt a spot just off to his side, as she often does. Just settling down, not necessarily perching in front of him in an attempt to catch his attention, but just joining him.
Eventually he'll answer after like a momentary glance, realizing you're there. Something you need, Omega?
She kind of does the twitch of a glance aside. I spoke to Jacob today, Rhea.
Have you now? And how was that?
Productive, Rhea.
I'm sure. How's Jacob Raya doing? He says sarcastically.
Jacob Rhea is distressed by the actions that were taken.
And what actions were they?
Apparently those within the hospital were slaughtered to the man. The building was burned down.
My. Who was leading the mission?
William White, Rhea.
Now that you turn around, actually. William White massacring people in hospitals. Now that is interesting.
It seems that they were under the impression that, at the very least, the better part of them were drones for the Weaver, Rhea. The idea that such a thing could be implanted into a human, potentially spreading like a plague. It sounds as though it was a necessary sacrifice.
Necessary sacrifice. I'm sure who made this call was Palatahim, correct? Probably giving him advice.
Very probably, Rhea.
The one who lies. A smirk. Oh, I'm sure they know all about necessary sacrifice.
She clenches her jaw for a second. But strangely enough, she clenches her jaw at the phrasing in regards to Talate, but all in all takes on, dare we say, an almost satisfied look. I was not party to any of this information or the decision, Ryan.
Of course not. God forbid. I mean, I didn't even get an invite to this thing. Maybe they wanted to do it on their own. Maybe they wanted to do their little evil schemes. Or maybe they just wanted to kill people. They didn't want a ragabash to go, well, hang on a minute. What are we doing? But then again, I'm the monster after all.
He might catch it. I wouldn't say he'd have any trouble understanding it, but perhaps catching that half-second skeptical side glance would be a little harder.
Oh, you don't think so? Is this like, I mean, he like half his face is in the dark. Basically, he does look quite weird and intimidating looking. As he looks over, and you don't think so? After all, most people question my every move. I think you've noticed.
I didn't mean anything by it, Raya.
Oh, I know you didn't, but surely have you seen it? After all, Tamer of Dragons is the worst person on the planet. If you're to believe some of the ears are unsept.
The marked difference between wolf and sheep, Raya.
I just find it interesting. If I made a call like that, I'd be condemned. They make a call, and they'll be hailed as heroes. The irony.
I am given the impression, Raya, that they did not. She pauses mid-sentence, kind of catching herself up, thinking harder about what she's about to say. Remember, Raya, I'm working to make amends with this pack, but I'm given the impression that William White was not forthright with Jacob, Raya.
He lurks a long, sarcastic cackle. And he's only realised this now, has he? William White's a liar. He always has been. Same with Talate. They're all liars. It takes people a wonder why. The man lies. In fact, a lot of the nation lies. That's what I've noticed about a lot of things. I agree with it. Sometimes lies are necessary. But he hides behind his little soapbox preachy veil. And then wonders why, when he acts like a guru, people look at him sideways when he preaches the exact opposite. William White's a hypocrite at the finest sense. I thought Jacob was smarter than that. He'd shake his head.
William White is a guru, troubled by human emotion. And Jacob Raya seems to have considered him a friend. He seemed very off-put, very upset in the wake of returning from that mission.
William White has no friends. Do you want to know why? And like, you actually, for the first time, you see his full face.
She's giving a little bit of a side glance just to keep an eye on his expression in general, but yeah, listening pose.
Because we're all tools to him. We're all ways to serve his selfish needs. All of us. Me, Talate, you, Jacob, Chloe. All these people. William White will never have any friends. Do you know why? Because William White doesn't think you're his friend. And he never will.
William White is learning, Raya.
Raises a surprised eyebrow. Or is that what he wants you to think?
Oh no. No, his previous disgust with me was perfectly clear. It was almost familiar, being avoided. But no. I was able to do him a good turn, Raya. And in return, he is listening, speaking.
You'll do him a good turn. And you'll listen and you'll speak. And you'll chat away. And then the moment you go outside his interest bracket, he'll turn on you and you're just nothing but a Fianna to him.
We will see, Raya.
We will. After all, I know William White all too intimately.
Please do not think me foolish for saying so, Raya, but much has happened since you have left their pack. People grow, they change. The
I'm
events
sure
that have happened force someone to adapt to survive.
I'm sure they have. But at that core, he's still him. And he always will be. Just evolved.
But then, Raya, if I was able to touch his core,
You know, I thought William White was a good man at first. That's why I walked over to him, I helped him. But at the end, I realised something. He's just like me. Except he doesn't want to admit it.
and how is he just like you, Raya?
We lie. We hurt people. We fight valiantly for those we care about. We're passionate. But in the end, we both hate ourselves for what we are.
Brown knits faintly.
And we've both turned that guilt and self-hatred into rage.
And she finally tips her head up a bit, looking him properly face on. I see nothing worthy of hate, Raya.
There's plenty to hate about me, 10 Point.
Perhaps if you are lacking vision, perhaps if you are caught up on small and insignificant things, Raya. But no.
He'll twist his head over at her.
God help her, she looks him face on still. And of all the things to defy him on,
Who's brought more trouble to the pack than Dallas, 10 Point?
those troubles were created by our interest and our welcoming you. We accepted the price. It was worth it. We paid it gladly.
We'll see.
I have seen Raya.
And he'll just put his head, against his put his hands behind his back, like on the back of his head, and he'll look over. Like I said, 10 Points. A person knows when they're nothing more than a glorified tool.
You should think, Raya, that I, of all people, would recognize such a trait. And I see none of it in you.
I shrug.
You are family, Raya.
Again, he'll cast his face half back into shadow and stare at the city. So what is it you're doing here, not wanting to listen to me prattle?
I always listen, Raya. Ragabash is far wiser than most people give them credit for.
And I don't think I'm a very good ragabash.
Perhaps. But you also think you're a tool, Raya. You believe that the cost was more than the reward. You have the gall to hate yourself. Perhaps your perspective, at least on this subject, is lacking.
Perhaps. I don't know, Tim, but I haven't been the same since those kinfolk shouted at me.
You should know the passion, Raya. These were things said in anger.
Like I said, Tim Point, I haven't been the same. Whether or not passion, anger. Where's the... I don't want gratitude. I don't want anything like that. I'd rather have just acceptance that this is the life we lead and the sacrifices we make for them. Do you not think I want to be one of them?
To be kin, Raya. To actually be the tool that you claim you are.
You point out probably his wife is going off and doing stuff. It means I could have a proper family with her. And a proper family wouldn't he close his eyes and twist his neck. It means I get to grow old.
You
Do you
have
not
a
think any of us
family, Raya.
have a family? 10 point, yes. But I won't live very long to see it blossom, will I?
You may not live so long as most, but you will outlive me. I will make sure of it, Raya.
Like I said, 10 point. You'll die, Balin will die, Banshee will die, Dallas will die. We'll all die. Long before we see our families grow up. Long after they've moved on. Maybe there's a part of me that wants that.
She finally turns and looks out to the city. And you would rather be one of them and be ignorant, and be prey to the worm, to the weaver, even to the wild.
There's a
Be
part of
prey
me.
to us, be prey to the vampires, be prey to everything.
There's a blissful ignorance about it, 10 point. I'm not stupid. I've been given many things in my life. I'm proud, Fiona. But there is that part of you. Undeniably, there's a part in all of us that just wishes somewhere deep down we could turn it all off. If it meant not having to face what comes next. Otherwise, you'd be a fool to be thinking it.
She turns and regards him again, fairly straight on. I know no other way, Raya.
And is there a part of you that would like another way? Without the horns?
And she tightens her jaw faintly, briefly. It is not a charmed life, Raya. But better to know. I have my family. I have a purpose.
I'm a peony the shit out of that one. Because fuck it, Aiden's been all philosophical again.
I should probably set up a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, you say? Little scrolling. You can tell by the title that this did not go the route originally planned.
Three.
He may note that asking her if she wished it was different. It's not. It's obvious that she doesn't immediately leap to some fond idea of being human or being a wolf. It's only the mention of her antlers.
But just nod. It's a question we all have to ask ourselves at some point, endpoint.
Her brows pop up a little bit.
He'll turn and look over. It's one that William White is just going to be asking himself now. Is all that we do and all these things we do ourselves? And I know people like to do this when they after committing some heinous act, like for example massacring an entire hospital and burning it down, which will undoubtedly, the ripples from that will be far greater than he intended, because now they have a weapon. Now they have us, the great terrorists, will condemn us, make more problems. And he'll be thinking to himself, was it all worth it? And the man who can look in the mirror and say with a steady eye, yes, that's a guru. That's a real guru.
What has been done, Raya, is what was necessary to stop the spread of a plague.
Of course. Oh no, I don't disagree. I would have probably done the same. However, what was necessary? There's a difference between what is necessary and what is practical in a real war to a point. Right now we're thinking, great, we've hit a stronghold, we've burned it down. The Weaver is very smart. It's going to use that against us.
The Weaver can use only so much, Raya, especially when it is rendered weak.
Their greatest weapon is them. He'll point out at the city.
And so it will be on the news, and so it will be in the newspaper, Raya. But that is all they will have. Outrage. Impotent outrage that something bad has happened to a number of people, to their sick, to their weak. If anything, their people grow stronger for the lack.
And that's how they get the likes of Jacob Clay. You see, 10 Point, this war isn't just fighting and butchering and killing. This war is psychological. We've struck a blow, but the ripples from that and the consequences may be far greater than any of us anticipate, even me.
Not all consequences of an action are bad, Raya.
I'm not saying that. You're assuming everything is the worst with me. You kind of raise an eyebrow.
She kind of squints at him a bit. After all, he's been pretty dour the entire time.
I'm saying there could be benefits, but there also could be mistakes. Either way, we'll have to adapt to both. The benefits that maybe now could be the most damning things in the future. And that's the question the people in that raid will have to ask themselves. Sooner or later, was it worth it?
It is one raid of many, Raya. We're on a war front. Not afford to be dragged down by decisions that must be made.
I ask myself that question every raid. Why do you think I fight so viciously? Because when I make that decision in my head, he'll smile, I've made my decision wholeheartedly. Blindly charging in is not how we're going to win this. You have to fight with that, as you point at her and her body, and you fight with that. He points at his head, and you have to learn to close during those moments this, and you point at his heart, and then answer to it when you're finished.
This was not a decision made impulsively, Raya. This was a planned attack.
A planned attack that William White kept hidden.
From one, Raya.
Because
From
he
the
knew
one who would protest the most.
Because he knew the consequences, and now he has to live with the fact that Jacob will now go around this sept. I think you're already seeing my point.
But will he, Raya?
Wouldn't you want him to?
You know what? Pioneer. Do it.
Two.
Yep. You dare say she looks a little smug.
You raise an eyebrow. What have you been up to then? That you would cast such doubt on Jacob Clay's known fervour for such things.
I have been peacekeeping, Raya.
Peacekeeping? You're peacekeeping the other packs.
She bobs her head very slightly.
Why? You say leaning forward quite, not angrily, just more intrigued.
It is hardly to my benefit to sow good relations with packs, only to be cast into the middle as they fight each other. I want them working in a unit. I want them to trust each other and to trust us, so that decisions will not be argued when one side takes to it and the other does not.
Decisions will always be argued, 10 point.
Not nearly so fervently, Araya.
After all, my job is to argue these decisions.
But William White and Jacob are not ragabashes, are they, Raya?
No, but a Philodox does pass judgment on things. A Philodox does do these things, as they're not just litany keepers.
They do, Raya. They are not unswayable.
And why is your interest in keeping the peace, then, 10 point?
It is for the best interests of the pack.
The best interest of the pack.
And I can best serve the tasks you have given me if there are not others sabotaging my efforts, Raya.
Oh, not.
I have gained, however tenuously, William White's trust. I have gained more now, I think, than before, Jacob's ear. And the last thing I need is to earn these things at length, only to have them cast at each other.
Perhaps a natural conflict needs to happen. Have you ever thought about that?
Of course, Raya. Do you not trust my wisdom? Is it Theurge? My insight?
I question it because I have to. After all, if you're to be in any way useful to me, I need to know that you have the right agenda behind your wisdom.
When the time comes, that we have need of either pack. And they cannot see to that need because they are too busy fighting among themselves. What good does it do us to have sway? William White, though, is more clever than I gave him credit for.
Is he now? And how do you figure William White's cleverness?
And she lofts her brows. There are none in this sept who have seen an Omega prior to my being here. There are none, I assume, who truly understand the purpose of an Omega, both in maintaining the balance of the pack and in the methods for doing so. William White has had some uncanny insight.
Oh, I'm sure he's enlightened you with his hypocrisy.
Not so, Raya. He is perhaps the first to realize that one who wears the title of an Omega, no matter what they may say, can never be considered one offering challenge. An Omega does not challenge. An Omega holds the bottom role.
Well, it took him long enough. And smile.
And so no matter what I may say, whether it is to another pack or to Uriah, can never be taken as a true and proper challenge to your abilities, to your rank, to your name. Because I am merely an Omega.
Well, I'll give William White credit. He's the first to realize your useful. He's the first outside of this pack to realize your usefulness.
And yet even with this realization, he has turned around, Raya. And after the deed I did for him, offered a service in return.
And he's more of a fool who feigns cleverness because in the end he wants one simple thing from you: recognition. Despite you being Omega, he still eagerly wants your approval, and at the same time he'll look over at her. He's much like Jacob. He wants to save you from yourself.
He knits a brow, or she knits a brow. He has not sought my approval, Raya. Until the actions I took, he did not look twice at me. It was almost like being home.
I can guarantee you he seeks your approval.
He acknowledges a debt.
Watch and learn, 10 point. William White's a fascinating subject.
This is true, Raya. And I do not doubt that your insight was correct at the time that you earned it. But time changes people.
Time changes people and they learn how to adapt to time. But they'll always be the same. They've just evolved their technique.
Or perhaps those who wish that they were still human adapt to being what they are. Perhaps late, but eventually.
I doubt it. And particularly with them. I watch them. You don't think I'll watch everybody? I watch everyone like a hawk at some point.
Consider it then a trial of my ability to serve your purpose. And when I am proven right.
I already am. But be careful. That's all I'm saying. You'll drink the Kool-Aid and he'll do his service for you and you'll grow to like him. Aye, part of you will. And in the end, when it comes down to it, he'll look forward. He'll always be Talate's bitch.
And she continues to look to him. And what services do you think I have asked, Raya?
Good relations, I suppose. Temperance. A bridge so he and I can finally make amends. Am I
Do you
wrong?
intend to sabotage me, Raya?
Why would I sabotage you? How do you doubt me in this pack? You lean forward. Suddenly now, for the first time, you feel the menace in him.
I ask not out of doubt for your ability to do what must be done, Raya, but out of your willingness.
How can I ever make temperance with the man who threatened to take away the one thing I came to this shithole of a sept for?
And do you remember, Raya, what happened as a result before the others stepped in?
I
He made a
see.
threat, but I still came back to you with a name.
Only after he realized what had happened and after his actions.
But in the end, he buckled, did he not?
And the fact, you asking me to forgive William White is adorable, 10 point, but it will never happen. I will play my role for this pack, and I'll make nice. And I'll do what needs to be fucking done. Because Banshee ordered me to. Because Banshee has asked me to. And I respect her as an alpha, as a guru. But him? I wish it was him that died instead of Pisa. And I will never, ever forgive him. And not any amount of spirits, not any amount of anything can sway my mind on that.
And she'll finally, after a pause, after that intense stare, loose out a terse sigh.
And yet, everyone sighs at me. He'll smile to himself.
And she snaps her head back around.
I just
You
find it
think
funny. I find it funny. He'll smirk.
I sigh out of exasperation, Raya?
Certainly seems like it.
No, Raya.
What is it then?
And she hesitates. Looks into his face briefly. Looks away again. One might say that I have learned to be very responsive to your temper, Raya.
Give me the full explanation. Don't dance around me or you will feel my temper, 10 point.
When your temper mounts, Raya, I expect you to deal with it the exact way you always have, the exact way that you're meant to, and for the exact reason that I sit beside you. Seeing it fade on its own is something of a relief, Raya.
I can curb my hate for him. Because right now, I look out the city, I know something that I can do which will get me the one thing I've wanted.
And when you have what you came here for, Raya,
Look over at her. What, do you think I'm going to leave?
I can hardly pretend to know your mind, Raya.
How can I leave when I've got one person, the person that I've given everything for, dying? I've got a family here. As much as I hate this place, this shithole, I'm stuck here. So I'll do what's necessary and bring an actual Fianna to here and show them what they look like and what they'll see.
It is a miserable place, Raya.
It is not. It is. It makes me miss home all the more, even though I wanted to leave so badly.
And she finally deflates some. She's been wearing a personality for a hot second during this conversation. Apologies for my forwardness, Raya.
Your forwardness is nothing to be offended over. You are seeking praise. And you're justifying your actions.
She falls, decidedly silent. And, yeah, is looking out at the city again. Because, hey, look, city, it's there.
He'll kind of get up a bit and walk over and kind of run his thumb through one of her locks of her hair. It's exactly the way I planned it. He'll actually have this weird smile on his face, like not like savage or anything. It's almost sad in a way.
And how is that, Raya?
How can you feel loved when you have no one who you think will love you? So you make someone love you unconditionally. But at the same time, it's not. He'll smile. Is it real love at the end of the day, 10 Point?
Isn't having love enough, Raya?
You can peony that because he's gonna lie.
I'm gonna.
3.
Damn, you're lying. Spending a willpower.
Oh shit.
Breaks even. Damn it.
Of course. Love is the most important thing. A nod.
And she, it breaks through her a bit.
He'll just, finish playing with her hair slightly. Well done, 10 Point. You've done well. It's my job to question your actions, and I would not hold back in my questioning with you.
Thank you, Raya. Do not forget.
Just remember. You smile at her and let her finish.
Do not forget that it is not the actions you have taken since joining alone. I remember pleading with you to be my Raya and not my Yaf.
A nod. He'll lean down to the point where his chin is by her shoulder. Just remember, 10 Point. The decisions you make with these friends, eventually they're going to come against our needs. And eventually, either way, the consequences will determine maybe life or death or maybe something else. Just remember, the right people you choose for us will mean everything.
Do not think, Raya, that regardless of my actions, I would ever forget where my loyalties lie.
Not a question of loyalty. It's a question of the consequences, 10 Point. I know you're loyal to a fault. However, in your fervor, in your eagerness to please, you turn his face towards his, you might damn us all. Just remember, balance the fervor with your mind.
And she gives a solemn little nod. Doesn't fight the notion, doesn't fight the almost roundabout accusation in the least. Simply accepts the advice.
He'll smile. But at the end of the day, I don't want loyalty. There. I don't want loyalty to be the thing that damns you.
To be damned by loyalty, Ryan, is potentially a better fate than I deserve.
Potentially. Or it could be the worst fate imaginable. You will, finally stand up and rub her head, and we'll walk inside.
And she will remain there, as it was hardly a negative parting. And will, in a way, kind of adopt the position he started in, sitting there, staring out at the city, mulling over her own thoughts. And with that, I can probably close this scene.
Yes.
So thank you, players, for playing. Thank you, watchers, for watching. And we'll see you next time on another episode of Living World of Darkness, Rage Across New York.